Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Stage 6 of the UAE Tour brought to you by Morton. This is the Jebel Hafeet, the final GC stage with no wind expected tomorrow. The climb, as you all know, is 10.6 Ks at 6.9%. That's the average gradient, but the middle 7 kilometers are around 8%. It is a power climb. So, yes, Yates has the record, but Plapp's done very well on this climb before, as well as, heavier GC riders like in the upper 60s, whereas the climb we had earlier in the week was a pure watt per kilo test suiting the low 60s guys like Van Aertvelt, for example. So a little bit different. Also, the approach is like the first few Ks, 5%. No wind, break formation. Did you watch it, Benji? You are gemooted.
I'm sorry, my formal apologies. Unprepared today. I saw Jebel Hafeet and I was like so hyped that my microphone decided to cancel me out completely. But I didn't see break formation. I did see the eventual breakaway that formed, and there was some fight in that breakaway to have that breakaway form because it was a pretty solid breakaway. Eventually, it was 7 riders when I started putting the broadcast on, including the likes of Stefan Bissiger, Axel Huns and Johan Jacobs for Groupama, Tarling and Uxenberg for Ineos Grenadiers, Mark Stewart for, I think that's Modern Adventure, I'm not completely sure. Is that true or is that...
Yeah, he's on Modern Adventure.
And Gafuri for Picnic Postinel. So a 7-man breakaway in this. This breakaway never really got a strong gap. Even when I thought, okay, there's some break formation stuff happening, the gap was only a minute by the time I really started following the race. And if you know that halfway the race, the gap is a minute, then it probably won't grow that much towards the finish. Grew up to maybe 2 minutes in certain places, but in the peloton, there was control by both UAE and also, I'm pretty sure, Decathlon as well. So quite a bit of control in that sense. In terms of crashes throughout the stage, we had Wilco Kelderman crashing together with his teammate Ben Tullet. Also Paleni for, I think that's also Groupama, and Harper crashing as well, who actually abandoned the race. So let's hope his injuries are pretty light, and let's hope he recovers as fast as possible. But what were we expecting again on Jebel Hafeet? Like, I think we both said Del Toro is perhaps slight favorite on this one, but did the fact that there's tailwind change a lot when it comes to this final climb? Relative to like a headwind moment?
It just makes it faster, and if it makes it faster, then the Etalon effect benefits the heavier climbers a little bit more. Because the average speed is just higher, so it's effectively flattens the gradient. I don't know how much. It also means that when you attack, the benefit to being in your wheel is marginally less than if it was a headwind. Then you get a lot more draft benefit if you are in the wheel of someone attacking. And then you just can be 5, 10, 15 watts. And when they're at threshold, when they're on the limit, these small things actually do make the difference to cracking or getting dropped or not when the level is very close between these riders. So Del Toro we thought would win because I just thought he had the kick to get away from Tiberi. And then if he picked the right moment, when it flattens off, Tiberi would just get cooked because I think Tiberi must be record lightweight.
I think so too.
I think he's lost weight.
That said, he's still a pretty solid time trialist, or at least engine. Regardless of that, we saw that in the time trial as well. But I agree with you on that assessment. I was more looking at it, okay, yes, Del Toro has to attack to try and put time into Tiberi because the gap in GC was 21 seconds before the stage starts. If hypothetically Del Toro comes first and Tiberi comes second, then the gap in between needs to be 17 seconds or higher, because with 17 seconds, they would be equal in GC, and then Del Toro had a lower amount of decimals past the second in his time trial, which would be the tiebreaker if they had the same time in GC. So 17 seconds is what Del Toro is looking for if Tiberi gets second place. My own problem with that was, how is he going to obtain that when he's got one mountain domestique, no real medium mountain domestiques in between the likes of Vermeersch and Adam Yates? There's like a gap. You know what I mean? So it's more that gap where I was worried. But on the other hand, I then thought, okay, Remco's going to want to try and win this stage. Gal's going to want to try and win this stage. Those teams will probably take care of that moment in the race. But we started the final climb with roughly 10K to go. And the break still had a gap. It was, I think, Darling being the engine for Luxembourg, the two riders that were left over at the end, and they had a gap of maybe a minute at the foot, roughly. The gap started slowing down, and it quickly became clear that the break was not winning, and we saw some pacing by UAE at first, Vermeers, then the Decathlon took over, and what did we see from that takeover from the Decathlon? How powerful was that?
It was really strong. First Dan Holer, then I don't know who was before Dan Holer. It might have just been him for a long time. Then Mühlberger pulled, and Mühlberger just shreds it. And I gotta say, I don't really get it. I don't get the strategy. Like, Mühlberger was extremely strong. I get doing this on the climb Jebel Mobra.
And he was weak on Mobra. He dropped on the first bump in Mobra, Mühlberger.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I don't understand.
Maybe he's, I don't get it either.
Like Jan Hirt.
Maybe reversed. And then on Jebel Mobra, I get going early if you think you can just want to pace yourself, do your own climb, but the draft still matters even with the tailwind as discussed on Jebel Hafeet. And Felix Gall is, not the most aero operator. And so I just don't get why, because UAE are going to do something, right? They got Yates there. Like, they're not just going to let you ride away. What's going to end up happening is, best case, you attack and drop everyone, and then you have to ride solo for several kilometers whilst Yates paces everyone on the wheel behind, and then they'll just attack across to you. That's the best case. Worst case is kind of what happens at the start. He attacks. Of course, Tiberi follows him. I think he has to bluff there. He has to let Gol go. Does it make a difference in the end? I don't really think so, but I was already thinking the lights are too bright for him here.
Okay, I see that. In the same way that on Jebel Mobra, Remco overreacted to people. In this case, Tiberi was in the lead. He overreacts to people. I think that's a fair assessment, but it wasn't necessarily like a moment where I was like, okay, Tiberi's out, stuff like that. He's overextending too much. I didn't really feel that yet, but we did see this like calm segment where, well, after Gall made a move and Silvov and Remco tried and Tiberi controlled that, we had this stalling moment where I think at this point, Luxembourg and Tarling, maybe Luxembourg alone, still had like 10 seconds on the GC group. And then we saw someone actually starting to pace off the GC riders, because I was thinking, okay, if the tempo's completely gone in this group, people are coming back, Patrick. They're coming right out of Narnia back to this group. And G starts pacing. And I think that's a logical thing, because we have seen from the style of G when it comes to climbing that he likes a steady ascension, a hard tempo the entire climb that he can handle. And in doing so, he can try and put pressure on people that are, yes, they're in his wheel. Yes, they have an amount of draft that they benefit from on steeper gradients that's not as much relevant as on flatter gradients. But when it comes to G pacing here, some people are benefiting, some people are suffering. And I think it's the best strategy for G to do. But then two things I think happen at the same time.
Well, can I give some respect to G West?
Okay, you can.
He accepts reality. It's important for us to accept reality in life. You will have a better life if you are honest with yourself, accept reality. He knows he cannot win this stage.
Of course.
Cannot win. He knows. Impossible. He knows he probably maybe can podium if others make a lot of mistakes around him. But what he's trying to do is do the best result possible and just pace himself. And I think that's quite liberating for him, and that's why he gets probably the best possible result in GC at this race that he could have, given that the poor guy had to do a 30-minute 12% climb, and he's like a foot taller than the Nordhagens and Van Eetvels of the world. Whereas, like Gol doesn't accept reality that you're not going to ride away from UAE with 6Ks to go. When they have to win. They have to win. Okay?
Yeah.
There's no like, we'll let Tiberi. They're not going to be like, Tiberi, you chase Felix Gall. They're not going to do that. That's why Gall had to bluff a little bit more. But if you want to define your new reality, the new reality of fueling, and if you're serious about performance, it's not optional. It's decisive. Morton's hydrogel technology has changed the way everyone is fueling at the very highest level of the sport. But even if you're doing long rides, long grand fondos, you're burning, the same amount of carbs, maybe not per hour, but you're getting through your glycogen stores maybe at the same rate. And when the pace goes nuclear, the ability to actually absorb 80, 100, 120 grams of carbs per hour does make the difference. So there's different, if you want to mix it up, there's drink mixes. There's the 160 and the 320, depending on how big you're going, you can scale it down. The gel 100 is a staple. There's even the caffeine gels as well. It's a staple in the peloton. Morton products are used even by teams in the peloton who aren't sponsored officially by them, but they're so good they buy them themselves anyway. So if you want to feel like the pros and trust your gut when it matters most, head to morton.com and use code LRCP15. That's LRCP15 for 15% off at checkout.
Okay, so two things happen at the same time with about roughly 5.7, 5.8, 5.9 kilometers to go. On one side of the road, we see Del Toro going to the front and stalling at the front a little bit, trying to set a bit of a tempo, but not too much, because he's trying to wait for Adam Yates, who's coming to the front, to set tempo for him. And at that same time, like you said, Gal makes a move with Tejada and the wheel. Those two things happen at the same time, and I wonder if Gal would have attacked already if he realized Adam Yates was going to the front at that exact moment, Patrick. Do you reckon if he saw that happening, he would have made that move at that time? I think you're muted now, Patrick. See, it's not just me.
I was trying to look up Nightshacker's estimation for the climb. I would have done nothing on this climb, honestly, until Yates had finished doing whatever he was inevitably going to do. I would have just, what Johannesson did, what Nordhagen did. Did you mention the Remco attack and drop?
No, hasn't happened yet in our chronology. Spoilers.
No, it's about to happen. It happened pre-decathlon.
Actually, no. At 5 kilometers to go, Remco drops.
But he attacked before.
When Yates starts spacing, after that, yeah, Remco attacked before, but Remco dropping doesn't happen until Yates starts spacing.
Yeah. But he attacked at the bottom of the climb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. What else happened? Van Wilder, you mentioned that crash?
That's about to happen. So Remco drops during that Yates space. Yeah, your chronology is in Narnia, my friend. Remco drops, Van Wilder crashes at the exact same time. And
yeah, that's right.
He actually is on a standstill for quite a bit. I think Lesser ends up pacing him relatively well, and I want to give him the outcome already. Van Wilder actually finished on 1 minute and 18 seconds, roughly. That's a very strong climb, knowing you crashed in the middle of it. So that's a really good performance, I would say. I wonder if he would have finished on 30, 35 seconds without that crash. Nonetheless, Yates is still pacing, Patrick. We're going towards the final 4 kilometers, and then it happens. Isaac Del Toro attacks. We see Tiberi in the wheel, and try to explain to me what this attack by Del Toro looks like and who it reminds you of.
Yates, big Yates, because Pogacar attacks seated now. Maybe original Pogacar when he attacked out of the saddle, but it's all out of the saddle, and it's like Yates. It's not a high peak, so Tiberi's straight in the wheel, and he's not getting kicked off the wheel, but the attack just goes on and on and on.
I have one. El Pistolero, Alberto Contador.
Yeah, that's a better comparison. Similar, sort of look on the bike. Yeah, because Yates' upper body doesn't move. It's a statue. But yeah, Del Toro attacks. I was like, Tiberi's going to get dropped. He keeps he has to win. UAE have to win this race, and he's just attacking. Tiberi eventually does the Vingegaard thing where he lets Del Toro go as he thinks Del Toro might be about to slow down, and then closes the gap when Del Toro sits down. But he did drop him for a little bit. Del Toro then stops. They just basically, he probably rides way, way slower. By the way, they've sprinted past Gol and Tejada.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. And I was surprised Del Toro went so early, actually. I thought he was going to wait for one hammer blow before the crest. But I guess it's too, like you said, it's risky to wait, because if you don't drop him and he's in your wheel, then you're done.
Because let's be honest, this first attack by Del Toro, it lasts a long time, and by the end it starts gapping Tiberi, but the gap is so minimal, so negligible that Tiberi is able to come back once Del Toro sits down. So that's where I'm like, if he would have attacked later, Del Toro, just before that crest, maybe he does a more explosive attack, which I don't know how Tiberi would have handled that. He looked pretty good on stage 1, but that's maybe a different kind of situation, I would say. I don't know whether he would have dropped Tiberi then. So I think this might have been a better strategy that you attack multiple times on the climb. I'm okay with what happened. And we don't want to spoil the outcome yet. But Tiberi and Del Toro now have a gap on the others. That's what is happening at the moment. With 3.5 kilometers to go, that is the situation. But I'm starting to hear a soundtrack, Patrick. The Australian kangaroo soundtrack of Luke Plapp in the background, coming closer and closer to the wheel of Felix Gall, dropping Felix Gall, catching up slowly but surely, 10 seconds behind, 8 seconds behind. He catches up with Del Toro and Tiberi, and right at that moment, Patrick, an attack comes again. Del Toro goes again. What happens?
A bit rude to Plapp. Well, I saw Plapp come back. I remembered, you just got to wait for a take to be right long enough. And I was like, when it was on Jabal Hafeet where I fired off the infamous Luke Plapp is a better GC rider than Remco.
I've got it right here.
In 2022.
I actually had it open because I wanted to bring it up. Patrick wrote on February 26, 2022, based on what we have seen this week, I think it's pretty obvious that Luke Plapp is already a better GC rider than Remco Evenepoel and perhaps should be Ineos' co-leader in the Tour de France, certainly in the Vuelta.
Yeah, Remco won the Vuelta that year, so it maybe wasn't correct then, but in this UAE Tour it was correct. In the Middle East it's correct, perhaps. In
Does
Australia,
that mean Remco's going to win the Vuelta?
Yeah, maybe. It's I don't know. But yeah, Platt was coming back, and he probably wanted a bit of draft for a bit, and they're like, nope. So again, he paced himself well. I think Platt was with Group G, Nordhagen, Johannesson when the first gold decathlon, and I think everyone in that group did a good job pacing themselves by like, why would we respond to Felix Gall launching at 6Ks to go? Like, why would you just do that? Tejada probably didn't need to do that either. And yeah, I think Tejada didn't do, he probably could have finished a bit better today. Anyway, Del Toro attacks again, and this time he drops Tiberi. And as we know, that once the gap is like anything, and he can get to that flatter section, Tiberi, based on the eye test as well, how skinny he is right now, he's just got the raw power disadvantage. Yeah. And it's a tailwind, and you can see the speed. Like Del Toro slaps it in the big ring. It's like when Kopecky attacked the smaller climbers at this exact moment a few years ago on the UAE Tour. Once the bigger rider has a gap there and they're fresher, and Tiberi was just like full cracking. So it cost him a lot to follow that first attack, and then he just didn't have the explosivity to go again. When he tried, he was all over for him. He collapses. Plapp comes back to him. Plapp curiously wouldn't pull with Tiberi in his wheel, where I was like, why does that matter? Like, you're riding for podium.
I found it funny. It was like he was trying to overthink the situation. Yeah. Like, okay, Tiberi right here needs to pace behind Del Toro so I can use him to beat him at the finish line.
He's cooked.
But you need the time. And to be honest, Plapp was also so much stronger that he was going to drop Tiberi. Tiberi's strategy in this stage was, I'm going to try and follow Del Toro at all costs, and if I explode. And he exploded. Would he have had a better result if he rode a more balanced climb? Perhaps. Potentially, yes. I would expect that. But I'd rather see him do this.
Tiberi?
Yep.
Because I saw Mihai say that, but no, the reality is, think what happens, right?
Okay.
It's not the climb of Jebel Mobra. When he doesn't respond to Del Toro's first attack or lets him go after 15 seconds, he now has to, like, Del Toro will then also drop his watts straight away. And then Del Toro will just keep riding at the same pace, but with an Edelon advantage. And let's say they have roughly the same Edelon per kilo, who's got the motorbike in front. Like, I think the gap would have been almost bigger.
Really?
Well, I think if he pays himself on a climb like this with a tailwind, no chance. It's not the same as the Mobra climb. I think he'd need help from Plapp and guys like that, because Del Toro would then just be pushing like 50 watts more than him, 60 watts more than him.
I reckon I could see a world where he would have been on 25 seconds at the finish.
Yeah, maybe 5 or so, but it was 17 seconds, right?
He wouldn't have won GC.
Yeah.
To be clear. But I see a world where he might have been with Gull, I don't believe he would have followed Plapp necessarily, because Plapp was really strong today. What do we read into Plapp? We haven't even finished the stage, Patrick. We haven't
finished the stage. Del Toro rides away, very, very impressive. He's in a big gear, grinding away to the finish, wins the stage. They say over 12 seconds ahead of Plapp, 21 seconds ahead of Felix Gall. I'd like to see Gall's, the climbing estimate for him. To Barry on 31 seconds, so the two other guys also take the bonies away from him. Johannesson brings in a group of 4 guys, Nordhagen, G West, Tejada on 36 seconds, then Gudu, Stora, Svested, Bardseng, Van Eytveld, Munten on 48 seconds. So again, look, Van Eytveld, he was going toe-to-toe with Del Toro on the steep climb. He's now out of the top 10 on this stage just because of the, not all climbs are the same, even though, yes, for an amateur, this is also a very hard climb. For these guys, small gradient differences do make a difference to the results. Remco's on 52 seconds. I actually think it's a pretty good recovery from where he got dropped for Remco. So, yeah, that's
But also
fine.
he gets beaten by Byron Munten, no?
Yeah, but Byron Munten, we've decided is pretty good. That is a good result for Byron Munten.
Yes, Rondel as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Shrestad Bardseng as well.
Yeah, that's a good result. And then, so Del Toro goes into the GC lead, 20 seconds over to Barry. So maybe with better pacing, I'll give you 10 seconds, but I really don't think it would have made the difference for GC.
I think that's fair.
Plapp moves into third, 11 seconds ahead of Tejada. Tejada, I think, cost himself third with the way he rode the climb today. Personally, I think he needed to hyper-focus Plapp. And he was too focused on Gall. But yeah, Felix Gall, he moves into fifth on 134, 10 seconds ahead of Van Eytveld, who drops down to 6th on 144. G West 147. Very tight, isn't it? Around the podium for 2 hard climbs. Nordhagen 155 in 8th. Johannesson 208 in 9th. Remco 225 in 10th. 2 seconds ahead of Van Wilder because he crashed. He loses 5 spots. And yeah, Van Wilder, I would say he's with G West, Nordhagen, Johannesson without a crash, in my opinion.
Okay, I think that's fair. But Luke Plapp finishes second here on 12 seconds. I remember that you didn't call him a GC rider after the time trial. Oh yeah, that's the vague hearings from beyond the grave.
Can't believe it. I hype up Plapp for years. I send that tweet in 22. I hype up every Australian rider, and then the one time I'm like, maybe tomorrow's climb's a little bit too hard for Plapp, and then now he finishes third in GC. So I should have stuck to my guns. Plapp, magic performance, but on a 20-minute all-out, Plapp is world class. Where did he finish in the Tour de France 30-minute TT last year uphill?
He finished close. But where does the inconsistency come from? Because he's not like the guy that you can be trusting off to perform like this every single race, no?
He finished ahead of Jorgensen and Onley, 2 seconds behind Lipovitz in that TT, in a 23-minute TT. The issue is fatigue resistance and positioning. So Uni Puertos, where it's a big highway climb, and also he can sort of just move up into position, and he's going to pace himself at the bottom anyway. It suits him a lot more.
Okay.
Or plus, he's been training at home in good conditions, and he's carrying that shape into February. So maybe he just gets in better shape when he's in Australia.
I do want to close this climbing stage off with, let's be honest about it. Del Toro wins this UAE Tour if nothing happens to him tomorrow, which nobody should wish upon him, of course. It's a sprint stage on paper. Your favorite, Abu Dhabi Breakwater. But before we get to that, have we learned any lessons when it comes to the GC riders in this race? I think it's just a humbling moment for Remco again after a very good start to the season, where I am still relatively confident in my take. Well, I'm not super confident, but I still believe in my take from the preseason that I am more confident in Lipovitz for the Tour de France than in Remco for another potential podium fight.
Yeah, Lipovic is just a more consistent GC rider. Like let's assume Lipovic is not in his best shape for Algarve, right? He still does everything to maximize his GC result possible on each day. Is it spectacular? No, he's not winning either. But it's like a classic GC rider mentality.
Except when he rides 10 meters off the front of a group for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, that last year was not good. But they changed all the staff.
Yeah.
So that won't happen anymore. So I think, Lipovic is just like he didn't have any bad days in the Tour last year. Positioning was a little bit of an issue in the first few stages, but he didn't have any bad days. So that's why he's a more reliable GC guy. And like you say, Remco, higher chance to win the Tour if something happened to Pog. But Lipovic's probably more likely to podium.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. The chance of Remco being at the level...
Yeah, if he goes 2024 mode again.
Exists, while with Lipovic, that's unlikely. While when it comes to the podium, we see Lipovic's consistency, and therefore it's more likely that he'll podium. So I understand your angle there. Outside of, first of all, him, I would also look at the fact that Del Toro won the race. I'm wondering, has he reached to the point where he can now climb in our
Today wasn't better than Jibal Mobra. Because the tailwind they did, is not as impressive a climbing performance, but
they broke the record though.
Yeah, but that was because of the wind conditions.
That's very fair.
But I would say the average watts that he did is maybe not reflective of his level, because he had to attack a guy all out out of the saddle for 2 minutes, stop, and then attack him again all out for 1 minute. So Del Toro could have gone actually quicker than this before. Like, he was better than 12 seconds better than Platt today. He just had to pace it in a way that he doesn't usually like to pace it. So we actually saw something different from Del Toro today, which was shaking a guy off who also followed him the first time. I
am a little bit sad about the reality that Del Toro is going to the Tour de France. I completely understand the view. You're trying to put him in the position that Almeida was in previous years, where he was in that domestique role / potential backup leader of Pogacar in the race. And that did benefit, I would say, Almeida in the long term. But I would have absolutely loved seeing Del Toro fight for a Giro d'Italia victory or something like that again. And that's the one thing where I'm like, I wish he was all-out leader in one of the Grand Tours this year. I don't see him riding the Vuelta after the Tour de France, because he's still a relatively young rider, and UAE doesn't seem to do that to their young riders. But hey, just a confirmation that he can win these 1 week races, and I expect him to be competitive for the ones he's going to be riding for in the coming weeks, including Itzuya and so forth, Tirreno. But next up is Strade, which I reckon Del Toro will be pretty good in that, to the point that I am terrified of UAE on that start list. Like, we see Pogacar and Del Toro on that list, with Wellens, with lots of other riders that are pretty good on that terrain. Kristen, maybe not the most likable rider in the world, but pretty good on that terrain as well. So
I disagree.
Absolutely
I think Kristen Strada they should take him off
because of technique.
Like, that's how they lose the race.
If he crashes out Pogacar.
Yeah.
Okay. we can use the same strategy as with Thomas or Martin back in the day. If you've got that rider in your train, put him at the back of your train.
Exactly, yeah.
So he doesn't crash out your rider, but maybe your competition.
Like Opiomi, like, could Tony Martin maybe have, like...
Yes, he could have avoided it, but
moved
still...
out of the way?
Doesn't mean it's his fault, you know?
Not his fault, but yeah.
Tiberi, podium Giro candidate? He's doing the Tour probably,
doing the Tour, yeah, I think.
Top 5?
Just pick a race with the steepest climbs and just send him to that. So, he did a great performance. He clearly didn't do as good a performance as on Jebel Mobra. I think he would have done, he's done a much worse performance, in fact. So,
but is that also not because the tempo in the middle was a bit more stop-start?
I think just following Del Toro completely ruined him.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
and
fair.
On Jebel Mobra, he could have let him go. Like, if Del Toro started attacking like that on Jebel Mobra, you just keep riding at your pace.
Yep.
Because there's no draft.
But Del Toro was smart enough to not do that.
Yeah. So, really entertaining. I think it's one of the best editions of UAE Tour in a while, because the pre-race favourite had to fight all the way to claw it back. Yes, he won stage 1, but then big upset on Mobra. We missed the Sprinters Mega Battle, but GC-wise, I enjoyed this also more than the Van 8-Volt edition because I think the level was also much higher here.
Yep, I think that's true. I have one more question. Do we cover Algarve and
what happened
from
to the TT
today?
yesterday?
Okay, we'll talk about it. In the time trial yesterday, we had we were looking at 3 candidates for the GC to shake things up. Would Almeida do well? Would Sixas do well? And would the first series character called Juan Ayuso do well? Ghana was my favorite for the time trial. You had Paul Sixas, but I think that's also partially because he's the second coming of Jesus Christ in your methodology. So I understand where that came from.
You were scared. When you saw the intermediate, you were scared that your satanic altar had to be discarded to put icons of Paul Seixas on.
I texted you that it wasn't happening, buddy. It wasn't happening. Especially because Ghana's always better in the second half of a time trial than the first half.
I think we're hashtag blessed at the moment with all these guys. I mean, no offense to Pog and Vingegaard, but I've enjoyed the UAE Tour and Algarve so far. Actually, all offense intended. Yep. Just keep training somewhere. Let these...
both Pogacar and Vingegaard just stay off the bike for now.
let the young bucks play, and it's been very entertaining. So Algarve's not finished yet. So Almeida's out of GC. I think he should ride negative and just out sprint the two that are going to attack. Like Seixas is going to attack Ayuso. Ayuso's going to stop on what's it called?
Mayao. But to be clear, did we say the outcome of the time trial yet?
Oh yeah, Ghana won like 6 seconds ahead of Ayuso. Ayuso monster TT. It's quite a technical TT and rolling. Ayuso's really good in technical TTs. He takes full risks on descents. And yeah, he beats even Sodafist by a couple of seconds. Seixas slowed down a little bit. He said he was quite harsh on himself in the post-race interview. He lost 7 seconds to Ayuso also, and now he has to make that up. He's 7 seconds behind in GC because they're obviously same time. And he has to make that up on Mayao. So Mayao. But yeah, still, that's a crazy good TT from Seixas. He smokes every other GC rider, and I think Ayuso's got a couple of kilos on him too.
And he's literally 19, so we're going to see a lot more from him in the future, that's for sure. I think that's an understatement. It's more of the idea that I think we've mentioned a few times throughout the last couple of years that sometimes seeing Pogacar right away, even not just Pogacar, Van der Poel as well in the classics, and Remco Evenepoel in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, seeing them right away with 30 to 60 kilometers to go and knowing that they're going to do that, knowing that they're going to win the stage, reduces the intense viewing experience of watching those races, and for me personally, the entertainment level. If Paul Sixas in a dream world becomes the same level as Pogacar, then there's 2 of those riders. And that's a whole different story. If that
happens, the sport goes, I'm on... What's the boxing promoter, Eddie? Get out of my way. I'm on a fucking rocket. I'm going to the moon. You're a mug. It's, the sport is going thermonuclear if that happens. Because, yeah, obviously I'm
because it's a French guy too, you know?
People say, I'm hater number 1, of course, obviously accepted, but I've seen in the data, when did you think I became a hater? Let me explain some lore to people who are still listening. Origin story. Became a Pog hater because I just bought the ASO rights with my own money in 2021, and then he ruined that Tour de France, and no one watched the videos, and I lost money. That's the origin story. I'd work for Visma for free, bro.
You can't let your finances define your happiness, Patrick.
I can. What do you mean? So listen, I will stop being a hater if Paul Seixas gets to his level and they're having mega battles and dropping each other. I will become number 1 fan again. Well, yeah. So
I don't know whether I'm the traditionalist or you're the traditionalist in this scenario, because you're a hater because of finances.
No,
I hate the situation in which riders are so OP that races become less entertaining.
No, but
I do it from a passion perspective, Patrick. My heart.
No, but that's the point. The races are less entertaining, so therefore,
yeah,
less people are interested. And yeah, obviously I want people to watch the videos. I want more people to listen to the podcast, of course.
But I don't think it's Pogacar's problem. It's not Pogacar's problem. Of
course, it's not Pogacar's problem. It's not. I'm not blaming him, but I can still be a hater. That's the definition. That's literally the definition of being a hater.
Aye, 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 aye.
Also, by the way, you know what is pog proof?
What do you mean? What is Tour of the Alps?
No, podcast. Podcast still keeps going to the moon. What was I going to
To be
say?
honest, I think people just tune in to hear us talk shit about air conditioning every now and then.
No, but on that, just to close that off, I won't complain about it this year anymore. We've done it to death, the complaining. And listen, I know, complaining about solos, it is done to death. But the debate is settled. Like, the data does show the audience are less interested in 100K solos.
Of course.
And that's not if it was Pog, if it was whoever. So hopefully Paul Seychelles, hopefully Ayuso Benji, hopefully Del Toro. What can we round this off with a little think piece?
Oh God.
Is Del Toro, what if he gets to Pog's level?
Well, then they're both on the same team.
And you think Del Toro doesn't have like the ego?
Well, in the first 1.5 years, no.
He doesn't, yeah.
What's his contract like, Del Toro? He's quite a while, right?
Yeah, infinite. He's never leaving.
Not sure it's never leaving, but what is it actually? I want to know when he's out.
2030? Oof. Let me check.
I hate the PCS search function.
The PCS
I'm trying
search
to type in
you
Del
put
Toro,
in Del,
and it finds everyone else.
And it'll bring up Juan Del Potro, the guy with the double hand forehand, the tennis player from 20 years ago.
It only works if you type in Toro, not Del Toro.
Which is funny. It's funny because its founder is Dutch, and so you would think the searching would be every person is from the Netherlands is Van something. So it's like a
Luc van Grefte.
Except for Luke. Luke's the one Dutch person with just one surname. Yeah, so you think Del Toro there just won't be an issue with Pog?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in the next 2 years there won't be a problem because Del Toro's trajectory is different. For example, this year he's going to be in the shadow of Pogacar at the Tour de France.
And he can still race
next
for himself.
Year he can go to the Giro and win it. And after that, then there is a question of, okay, they're very fucking good at the Tour de France, both of them. Then there could be a bit of a clash. And then we might see changes.
Maybe 1 year Pog Pog might be like, please, someone else do the Tour de France. I want to do the Giro of Vuelta. No, seriously.
I want to do Tour of the Alps.
If Pog wins 5 tours in a row or something, and he's grateful. You know who's the happiest after today's result? Happier than Del Toro? Pogacar. Today is Pogacar's happiest day.
Because he doesn't need to do UAE Tour.
He doesn't have to do UAE Tour next year.
Hot take: Pogacar rides UAE Tour next year.
Nah, I don't think so. I think there's a pretty proven good formula for him training up until Strada and then performing pretty well. Although he also rode last year and it's pretty good. But I agree with you. I think it's fine for now. They'll get Del Toro to lead the Giro 27 as the favorite.
I do think Del Toro will become better from here.
Yeah, I mean, he is improving.
That's not a hot take at all, but
he is improving.
And how do we, because I think we mentioned this in yesterday or the day before's podcast, I think the day before maybe, we spoke about Seixas, 19 years old. At the age, when Isaac Del Toro was 19, he was not training in the same way Seixas was training when he was 19.
Oh, yeah, maybe not with the same sophistication. Definitely not with the same sophistication, team support. I mean, by age 19, Paul Seychelles has probably spent more time in the wind tunnel than Del Toro has today. I reckon. Like, that decathlon setup is slippery. But Del Toro also was racing in Europe for a long time. Like,
with Harmonics then.
22, 23. Yeah, he was also racing in Europe, but you're right. Everyone's age is like, you got to look at people's age. Like Jay Vine at 30, he is not the same cycling age as Peter Sagan was at 30, who was done.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that us with joint cycling training with more to nutrition at the age of 50.
Yes, for sure we could make it to it.
Okay.
Like, if this ultra marathon goes well, because like prices are down right now, weight wise. We're getting. I'm trying to get to Tiberi levels. I want to get to Riccatello
second-
levels.
The second
Oh, I gotta. Plap just texted me. I took the podcast personally. I already did the apology. I have fully apologized to Plap.
Patrick,
He's got
23 minutes ago, Plap texted me, you better call Patrick out.
I did it before. I already apologized. I have literally been beating up Plap to do 1 week GC for 5 fucking years, and then I'm like, man. And then he hears it, and all right, I'll I feel like I do my bit for Australians, and then I try to be neutral one time, and it backfires
You're
massively.
a bit for an Australia. What do you say about Jai Hindley in 2020?
I'm actually helping them. I'm actually Plap should be thanking me. I'm not apologizing. You're welcome, Luke Plap.
I am the reason Caden Groves won Grand Tour
Exactly.
stages. I called him a Conti-level sprinter.
You called him a no-good Baltic Chain Facebook stream Conti Sprinter loser, and since then he won 10 Grand Tour stages.
I can't even deny it. It's true.
All right. No, I'm happy Plap did well. It's a big result. He's had a good start to the year. All righty. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back for we'll be after Algarve tomorrow after the Mayal finish, not the UAE stage. Ciao, ciao.